Welcome to the Flying P Podcast, Flyers podcast by fans, for fans. Today is September 22nd, 2019, and my name is John.
I'm Shane, and let's drop the puck. It's here. It's finally here.
It's our inaugural episode 1.
We have planned so much and so little, and today we're going to find out how it's all going to work out.
It's going to be a crapshoot, you know it.
I'm excited.
All right, Shane, why don't you introduce yourself? Buddy?
Well, my name is Shane. You're not getting my last name, you son of a bitch. First, I've been a fan pretty much my whole life, but I'd say I got into hockey as a sport sophomore year of high school, and ever since then, it's just been, fantasy hockey, Flyers, pain, lots of pain since 2012, more pain, and
Pain is real.
Here we are. Tell me a little bit about yourself, John.
My name is John. My first foray into hockey was about age 9. First game that same year.
Do you know who was playing? Do you recall?
Who they were playing against?
Yeah.
I believe it was the Capitals.
Did they win?
No,
Probably not.
no. This was 1999.
Makes sense.
So it's hard for me to remember exactly when. I was 9 years old.
How dare you?
But yeah, so I dove into hockey probably right around sophomore year. Ended up joining your fantasy league, and now we're here. Yeah.
Speaking of fantasy, you're going down this year.
I beat you last year, didn't I?
Shut up. Not fair. Don't bring that up. That's non-relatable here.
It's only my, second year in your league.
Oh, God, here we go. Anyway, why don't we just talk about what's important? Let's talk about some hockey.
Yeah. I love talking about hockey. Let's do exactly that.
So, first and foremost, I think it's a good idea to just... this is a big year for the Flyers. I think a lot of people think that it's a make-or-break year, and I would agree. I think this is a huge point in the franchise history where, we've always been a winning team, and we haven't really had that winning culture in a while. As I said earlier, 2012 is the last time we won a playoff series. 2012. The world ended, and we haven't won since.
It's definitely a big deal now. With all of the moves that have been happening in the league this year specifically, the rise in cap prices, everything's changing for speed instead of hits. The Flyers definitely need to focus less on their grit and more on their scoring potential.
What about gritty?
Well, that's probably where they had to put all their grit. Because the Flyers can't get rid of it.
No. Quick sidebar. What was your first reaction for gritty?
It's probably been oversaid by now, but I definitely thought he was a mix between Animal and the Philly Fanatic.
Yeah.
Like their demon son.
It's pretty great.
Yeah.
I hated Gritty, and then he tweeted the Penguins, and I was like, nah, this guy gets it.
Yeah, when Gritty tweets the Penguins.
That's when you know everything's going to be okay.
It's like those Wendy's tweets where they just talk shit on each other.
Why are fast food tweets so savage?
I don't know, man. It's 2019.
2019. It's on Twitter.
So tell me about this Kevin Hayes edition.
Kevin Hayes. I like it and I don't like it. I think that the Flyers made a mistake in the years and the cap hit. They signed him 7 years, $7.14 million cap hit, and I think the Flyers tried to predict the market and failed. There's no denying we needed a second C, and there's no denying that they wanted Kevin Hayes for a reason. The coaches to fit, the scheme, it fits. He offers more experience in the spot with Patrick not being able to take that role yet, but the money just isn't there.
Yeah, I mean, the money's there. It's just we're not going to have any left over by the end of the preseason.
No.
Kevin Hayes, he's got a lot to prove, and so far he's done that in the preseason.
I would agree. I see hustle in him.
I mean, fans are going to be expecting him to produce time after time, and I think it's slightly unfair for him because we're all going to be looking for Kevin Hayes to be like Giroux level because of his price.
And he's not.
Yeah, he's not. He's not going to hit 80 points. He's not going to hit 90 points. He's never going to hit 100 points.
I mean, he might.
He's not.
He might.
Statistically, yes, he could.
Yeah, I'm just saying, we can't rule it out.
I'm going to rule it out. I'm going to say it right now.
Kevin Hayes, 150 points.
Kevin Hayes will not break 100 points.
150, you're right.
Kevin Hayes is going to break 80 points.
Gretzky who?
Alright, so the Flyers have to have a win-now attitude this season, and they definitely tried that by picking up Hayes, right? So, they were like the first ones to actually sign anyone this offseason.
Yeah, we traded for him before the free agency period began, and then we tried to sign him before. We didn't even want to give him an option.
Yeah, he wasn't being allowed to have an option at this point. They just threw money at him and said, please come here.
Now, there was some rumblings that Kevin Hayes didn't want to be a Flyer when he was acquired. Did you hear about that?
I really didn't hear much about any of that. You know, you always get that, like, press talk that the players give where, like, I couldn't wait to be a Flyer. Yeah. It was so exciting when I came to Philadelphia.
This has been my dream for forever.
I love my bank account having high numbers in it.
Go Philly.
Yeah, so, I mean, you can take it and leave it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I know most players aren't going to die for Philly like they're going to go after playing in New York or a California team, but Philly's a decent place. Philly's a good place.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, we have a city, you know. We have passionate fans.
You sound like Ottawa. We have a city. We are a team.
Ottawa's not a team. Ottawa's not a team.
We're a hockey team.
You tell me that there's a Canadian team that might actually need to be relocated. How embarrassing is that?
I mean, I don't want to shit talk, but
I mean, oof, right?
The prospects are looking good.
Yeah, I mean, they're in the middle of a rebuild. There's some positives there. You have Shabbat. He's looking pretty good, but let's bring it back to the Flyers.
This is a Flyers podcast, after all. Yeah, so we have Matt Niskanen was also brought in this offseason.
Matt Niskanen. I like this and don't like this, just simply because getting Niskanen means that we lose Gudas, and I really like Gudas. I thought that last year he was arguably overall was our best defender. I think that we saw a huge increase in his shots. We saw him just. He was good. He was skating. His passing still sucked. You know, that Gudas special, but the
Gudas special.
The Gudas special. But he was hitting. I think this is a pure age thing. You know, we have Myers, we have Morin, we have Cam York in the system now, and Gudas was 29 years old on the last year of his contract. There's no world in where we sign him next year with all those guys coming up. And I think that's the only reason he's traded out of here.
Yeah, I think that you're kind of hitting the nail on the head there. I mean, we have Niskanen. He has a lot of experience. He's power play experienced. He provides that vet presence on the blue line. But Gudas could have done something similar. Maybe not so much with the power play, but at least providing that veteran experience for the younger players. The key difference here is if they were going to sign Gudas, they would have had to throw a lot more money at him than 6.7 for just 2 years.
Agreed.
They would have had to sign him for at least 4 or 5, and they have no plans to have someone of that age on the blue line that long.
No, I expect us to so we have right now. So we are keeping 30% of Gudas' salary in this exchange, which is roughly I think it's $1 million. So we have Niskanen for 2 years, 6.75, and I think that's about right. I think that after those 2 years, I don't think we sign him again. I think that he's entering the latter half of his career, but once he's gone, we'll have hopefully Cam York or a couple of the other prospects. We'll be ready to
bring Morin in.
Slide right in once his contract's up.
Well, speaking of defensemen, we both were kind of worried about Justin Braun when
I had him. A lot of I was not happy. I was, once they, so buying McDonald out, fantastic move. No offense, McDonald. I'm sure you're a great guy, and I know that you were a huge locker room presence, and that's super important, but it's also super important to play good hockey.
Let's just pause real quick and listen to the screams of all the people that hate Andrew McDonald.
I can hear them, and I'm
deaf. Hear them through the walls.
I think we have to stop this podcast.
It's like a horror movie. So, all right, yeah. Well, he plays big minutes. So what? What does that mean?
So Braun he comes in, and first and foremost, the price way too high. We trade with the Sharks in exchange for a second and a third round pick, a second in the 2019 draft, and a third in the 2020 draft. And what? He's 32. It's a big defensive guy in San Jose, but I just don't see a lot that we needed from him.
Well, he was all defense in San Jose. That was his only job. He didn't really, he wasn't racking up points. He was a defensive defenseman, which is fine. You need that, but does that mean they're rethinking Hague?
I think everyone hates Hague. I think that
he's not as bad as everyone makes him out to be.
I would like to do.
Can't be, right?
Let's do a poll to none of our listeners on episode 1. Do you like Hague or not?
I would like to hear about that. If anyone's listening to this, let us know.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Hague?
Because I'll tell you how I feel about Hague, and this is not a lot of positive things.
Well, I mean, Justin Braun. You look at his contract. He's obviously a rental, so they just need a body. They're not going to re-sign him.
I don't think so. I don't know why you would, because again, the same reason is we're not going to re-sign Niskanen. It's just we have younger people that are ready. But this move means that instead of Andrew McDonald taking the ice on those off nights, we have Braun. And I will say, he's looked pretty solid in preseason so far.
He's had a lot of good blocks.
He had blocks. That one. He saved a goal in that one game.
He saved a goal. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's taken some shots too, and I like that.
I can't argue with a defenseman taking a couple wrist shots. I have no issue with that. So, what about Tyler Pitlick? We picked him up over the offseason also.
Yeah, I really liked Hartman. I was my main offseason concern, other than finding a second C, was I really would have liked to keep Hartman. He's young. He may not have tapped into his full potential yet. He's feisty. But I guess the numbers weren't there. I still think they could have signed him if it wasn't for the massive Hayes contract.
Well, yeah, definitely. But Hartman wasn't going to fill that 2C spot, right? And
no,
that's what they really needed to fill. So first priority would have been 2C.
Agreed. Now Pitlick comes in. I don't know a lot about him. He's currently hurt, so we haven't seen him in the preseason.
Ankle injury, right?
Ankle injury, yeah. I believe. But he is a feisty player. He's going to slot in on that third line, or fourth line, I apologize. And, yeah, I mean, he's 27, a gritty player coming to the Flyers, bring some hits to that fourth line. There's not much to complain about. He's got he's good in the penalty kill, and our penalty kill last year was horrendous. So, all the help we can get there.
He is easy NHL experience for a cheap price. That's true. He's not garbage either, which is nice. It's fourth line, but he can also play center, and then you can move up Lawton if we need, Lawton up in the 3C.
I like two center lines. I really do. I like that option. There's a lot more you can maneuver around with.
Yeah, AV can definitely mess with the lines off of that. So, I mean, he's a body. He's a body, right? He's an NHL caliber body. So overall, our main additions: Niskanen, Braun, Hayes, Pitlick. What are you feeling? What are you feeling? And personally, I'm feeling pretty good about Hayes. Yeah, I think that seeing him in the preseason has really helped me feel that way. Yeah, the preseason definitely opened our eyes a little bit. It is the preseason though. It's not, they're playing against AHL goalies for half the game. No, but there's no denying that Hayes and Voracek are developing some sort of crazy chemistry. I mean, Yeah.
It's seeing those two cycle the zone. I mean, Voracek is a big body, and Hayes can do the same thing. I mean, they just they swing around the rosy, man.
Yeah, they were playing some good tic-tac-toe passing.
Yeah.
And then you have JVR sitting net front.
Just waiting for that shot.
Just throw the shot in, and JVR just tips it in. I mean, especially with Voracek's ability to enter a zone and enter it cleanly and with the puck.
Yeah. It could be a good second line, This is what we need. We need lines. So let's talk about a couple of our key departures here. First and foremost, we don't have them written down on our list, but Wayne Simmons left in the middle of the season, and he's currently a Devil.
Press F to pay respects.
Press F. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I'm fine with it. He's on sort of the tail end of his peak.
Yeah.
I mean, he's on a team now that is stacked.
They might get line A. The Devils might get line
It's
A.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Where did all this money come from?
Well, not Comcast.
Oh my gosh, Comcast, please stop it. Let me watch games.
Yeah, so Simmons is gone. That's a tough one to swallow, but we all have to admit that he just wasn't playing well, and injury is involved, and just the play style, it wears down on a player like Wayne Simmons. Like he's a physical player.
He is a very physical player. Yeah, net front presence. We replaced that net front presence with JVR. So I mean, I can see him going. They would have had to re-sign him, right? So that would have demanded big bucks. The nice thing about him, though, he was the quintessential Flyer. He was what you expect a Flyer player to look like.
Absolutely, and I think that he will be remembered fondly in this city forever. I mean,
even asking to be booed.
Yeah,
I think he's still going to get applauded.
Yeah. You hear this, Wayne? You're getting applause.
I mean, he wants the boo. I'll give him the boo.
I'm not giving him shit, okay? I'll give him what I damn well please.
Free man.
Yeah, you're gonna be at cheers because I like you, whether you like it or not.
Well, we got rid of Gudis and McDonald also.
Right.
We've already kind of touched on them. Gudis, he was probably our best defenseman last year. Provorov and Ghost Bear were both shit in the bed. So,
boy, were they.
We see him go. We're sad to see him go.
But I get it.
It's a casualty of youth, right?
Yep. I just think it's just all management is new. It's necessary to bring in new blood to try to change things up because what we've been doing right now hasn't been working, and that's very clear. McDonald, we touched on earlier. Just I don't really.
Do we need to really mention more? I mean, goodbye contract.
I'm just happy, I'm just happy I don't need to see him chasing after a blown defensive play, creating a breakaway, and then him diving, not even making it. I see it all now in my head.
It was painful.
It was painful. Ryan Hartman also.
I already know you're brokenhearted.
I don't like it, but I'm even more brokenhearted about the next one.
Cam Talbot.
I wanted Cam Talbot.
They're just going to finish it up. They're just going to finish it up with Elliott.
I don't care. I wanted Talbot.
Talbot's not going to stay when he can get a starter job.
I understand that, but he signed a 1-year, $2.75 deal with the Flames, and my understanding is that it's a 1A, 1B situation. So yeah, definitely coming to Philly, he would have been a backup, but I think that the Carter Hart connection is important, and I don't even know if the Flyers reached out and tried to sign him.
They might not have.
Elliott is a 1-year, $2 million, so we're really not talking about that much of a difference.
Yeah, it's an entry-level contract difference.
So why did we even trade for him if we didn't try to take advantage of...
They might have just been scared of losing yet another goalie.
That's true.
And not being able to play. What are you going to... I mean, you're going to play the equipment coach? It's been done.
It has been done.
But not as your starter.
No. What was it, 6 or 7 goaltenders last year?
I think it was 8.
Oh, it's horrible. Too many. I don't know. I may be just looking too much into the Cam Talbot Carter Hart connection, but I think at this point,
it's a feel-good story.
It is a great story, actually. So those are our key departures. All of those guys, we knew they were on their way out.
I think people were a little surprised about the Gudis move.
Yeah,
I was definitely surprised about picking up Braun.
Yeah, the Braun one shocked me the most. But Gudas, oh man, he was just talking. He's like, I get to play that game in Prague, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
That would have been pretty cool for him to go back to the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
And play a game there, but
sorry.
Now you're on the Capitals.
You got traded. Have fun.
I liked Gudas.
I like Gudas too.
He had his issues, right? So he was constantly getting penalties. He was a dump the puck first kind of player. He wasn't really, he's not getting that take pass that Niskanen's going to get, right? But he's also, he could have picked it up a little bit. But speaking of defensemen, we have Ivan Provorov, who is signed.
He's signed. Well, actually, Provorov and Konechny. We're good.
Yes. When we wrote the outline for our little podcast here, we didn't know yet if Ivan Provorov or Konechny would sign this year, and it seemed like Konechny was trying to be a holdout, but...
Yeah, I was a little scared, missing the first day, and management definitely didn't mince words when referring to Konechny.
It definitely seemed like everyone was waiting for the Marner signing.
Yeah. Marner is, let's talk about that real quick. Reasons you should never have your family be your agent. It never ends well.
You should always have your family be your agent, unless you're Toronto.
Yeah, Dad, I want a nice contract, Dad. I'm not playing for anything less than this, Dad.
Oh my God, what did he go? You got 13 mil?
I think so.
It was up there.
It was up there. I mean, Marner's worth it. Don't get me wrong, and. It's topical kind of the Flyers is, who's still not signed? Braden Point.
Yeah, but we can't afford that.
No, maybe. I don't know. We can move some things. I'm just saying, Braden Point is an elite player. You look at his numbers, he has more goals than Marner. He's a higher, plays less minutes, I think. I don't know. I'm just saying, they can't afford him.
No, Toronto can't afford anything else.
Toronto
can't afford to buy new skates now.
I don't even think the Lightning can afford him.
No, I don't think the Lightning are having troubles with their caps. I think Pittsburgh had issues with the cap.
Man, you want to talk about horrible off-season moves?
Oh my gosh, yeah, tell me about it.
We'll get into it.
They've done nothing?
Nothing. We'll get into it. We'll get into it a little later.
I mean, I don't even want to talk about them. Well, what about our lines? Like, what do you expect to see this year?
Well, this is a tough one. So I wrote my lines before the preseason, so my opinions are a little bit different. But I think that we're going to see a top line of Giroux, Kuz, Konechny. I think that's going to stay the same.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that.
I don't know how long Konechny stays up there, but... Konechny is one of the better even strength scorers in the league, He put up like 24, 25 goals, and none of that pretty much was power play at all.
Well, what do you think about Farabee? Farabee's been playing in that spot for the preseason games.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think they moved Giroux to the right, though.
I think so.
And they played Farabee left.
That could be a problem for G.
I don't like G on the right. He didn't seem like he was clicking as well.
No, not at all.
Because the last preseason game, he wasn't right.
No.
And he had 3 assists.
Yeah, the power play helps.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely thought he made a couple poor decisions, especially in the power play. I would still say Konechny. Konechny keeps it for now. Farabee, I was rooting for him. I know that's your guy, but...
He's my guy, but I don't expect him to make it first line.
He didn't look good to me. He hasn't made use of his chances.
I can see that. He has a very low shot count so far. He hasn't had any points at all, and he's played 3 games now. But he still looked really good in college. He's looked really good in camp. And he's just number-wise, he's going to be good. Now, do I think he's going to beat out Frost? Probably not.
No, Frost has looked absolutely dynamic. He has no points, but he's driving every play.
Yeah, he's working. He's a workhorse.
Yeah, I think it's going to be important for him to score, though. I think that's going to go a long way for him, for either of those guys.
Yeah, he seems like he's the playmaker side of the Giroux play style, but so far he hasn't really put up any points. It's preseason, though. It really doesn't matter yet.
Yeah, it's so hard to judge.
I mean, for these prospects, it means a lot. They're playing, they're trying to show off what they can do, so...
But all I'm saying is Farabee has had a chance with that top line. Frost has not. Frost looks better.
Well, there's no place for Frost to play on the top line, right? He's
true.
a center.
Well, we could take G down to the third line, put Frost up there.
Put G on the fourth line.
So who do you have for your top line?
So my top line is pretty much the same. It's Giroux, Coots, and Konechny. It's gonna work. I mean, you give Konechny more time. He's played less than what was it? It was less than 20 minutes.
Oh yeah, I think it's like 15.
Yeah, it was 15.
I think so.
15 minutes a game total time on ice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you put him up there on the top line, get him plenty more time. He can definitely increase his points. But that being said, Coots is really the MVP of that line anyway.
So let's another sidebar because we have our crap together. Who do you think the Flyers' best player is? Absolute best player. And to get back to that connecting thing real quick, he's averaging less than that, 14:05.
14:05 minutes per game.
Yeah.
Now, is that this season or last season?
That's actually the last two seasons.
Last
season was 14:05. The year before that, 14:54. It's actually interesting to note that his I'm reading this wrong. My bad. It is going up. I was gonna say it's going down. It's actually going up.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, I would expect it to go up. But
15, 16.
Is it a stamina issue, or is it just because Hackstall didn't want to do it because Hackstall had this vision in his mind?
Well, Hackstall just really liked Andrew McDonald for some reason.
Just took all the minutes and piled them on Amen.
Just shoved them right up his. Anyway, so yeah, he's. I think it's his defensive liability is what keeps his minutes down.
I could see that. Yeah.
I think that he's not good defensively. Sometimes he'll make a pass, and I'm just like, I just want to shake his head, you know?
Yeah, kind of suicide-y passes, but I mean, give him more time on ice. I think things will go all right.
Agreed.
It's not like you can't stick someone else there.
Anyway, back to who do you think the best person on the Flyers? Their best player.
Yeah, well, I mean, as far as that segue goes, I was talking about Coots before, and I think it's pretty easy to say MVP, Coots.
Yeah, I would have to agree.
Sean Couturier, my favorite player, before him moving to the first line.
He is...
That hipster Sean Couturier fan.
That hipster. I mean, it's been a long time coming for him. He was drafted to be this offensive player, and he just was forced into a defensive role, and we'll see if that overall helps or hurt his career in the long run. But now that we're starting to see that offensive spark, I think you got to say the best all-around player and probably the most important player to this hockey team is Coots. He just does so much from the defensive to the offensive to the penalty kill to the power play. He's in it all.
Yeah, it was definitely cool, like over the last 2 seasons, just to watch this change. Because I would watch him when he got a breakaway or he was 2-on-1, pushing into the offensive zone, and he would pass first.
Yeah,
and that was his go-to. It was what he expected and what he learned to do. Now he's taking shots. Now he's driving the puck to the net.
I still think he needs to take more shots.
Well, I mean, it's never going to hurt.
Yeah, no, never. But no, this is a crazy. I think it was even his idea to move to the top line. He told the coach, and then
fourth liner, coach, stick me on the first line, please.
Just do it.
Come on, coach.
Come on, coach.
Need to play more,
coach. All right, let's move on to line 2. So, who do you have?
I have JVR, Hayes, and Voracek.
I also have JVR, Hayes, and Voracek.
Do you?
So let's talk about that line. So this is the line that we've seen mostly in preseason thus far, and there's a lot of positive returns. I think JVR, Hayes, and Voracek they've got chemistry, and I think that's just plain for anybody to see.
Yeah, I saw this coming a mile away just because of the way Voracek plays, the way he can drive a puck. Then you have JVR, who's that net front big body that's great with deflections. And then Hayes, who's kind of in the middle. He's a good power forward with like a decent shot. So all three of them together really make what has come to be a beautiful line.
And I think that Flyers line 2 is going to be a key to the Flyers' success this year. In recent years, we've been a one-line team. And I think that there's no denying it. A lot of people, I know there's a lot of Giroux haters out there. A lot of people think that G should be able to lift us up no matter what. But he's led the team every year, I think. And I don't know.
Even on his down years, he was still the highest.
Right, so if you're rolling one line and you're basically telling other teams, you stop this line, you stop the Flyers. I don't think this is going to be the case this year. I expect our second and third lines to be so much more dynamic. We're going to spread out the defense. We're going to create more mismatch opportunities.
It's definitely important, too, because, like you said, with the Flyers being that single-line team, kind of like an Edmonton Oilers situation.
Yeah, I mean, all I want to know is how you have two players get over 100 points and still miss.
So we're going to pause and switch to Edmonton.
Yeah, we're going to pause
now.
and switch to Edmonton because they need to be spoken about a little bit.
Yeah, so we have Draisaitl, right, and we have McDavid.
McJesus.
Probably the best player in hockey right now.
Yeah, arguably. I mean, I'm sure there's some Crosby fans sucking dick.
Well, they can just go post their Crosby gifs and...
Crosby, tell me more about how good you are.
Yeah, just go back to being fair weather fans. But yeah.
I mean, there's no denying that he's a fantastic player. But I think that McDavid is dynamic and scary. And they still don't make the playoffs.
He's going to rot on that team his whole career.
I don't think he will. I think that if they don't make the playoffs, I think that he's just going to say, all right, trade me. And I think that he should. I don't think that here's the word. The word generational should not be used lightly or often. But McDavid is a generational player. He has the potential to change the sport of hockey. And I don't think he can do that on the Oilers unless they get their shit together.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can use that as an example, too. So we have a player who's that good, and this is a one-line team.
Yeah.
And they have not done anything.
Because hockey is a team sport.
So you take a franchise player like that, and you put all your hopes and dreams and aspirations on this player, just like we were doing with G, it's not going to work out, and you definitely need to have that depth and that scoring ability on your second line and your third line, even your fourth line.
Yeah, you need your fourth line to come out and create some chaos. You need points from them.
Speaking of fourth lines, I would just like to point out in the preseason so far, Twarynski.
Yeah, who saw that coming? Not me.
This guy...
He had a goal last night.
He had a goal last night. He's driving the puck to the net by himself. He's taking shots. That weird shot he had, he hit the goalie with the shot. It bounced over the goalie's head, and he slapped it in right when it was under the bar.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe he's the answer to Pitlick injury.
I would say. I mean, he's looked good, and they haven't cut him. They played him last night. So, yeah. I think that you'd have to say that he could totally slide in there until Pitlick's ready to go.
Yeah, so, I mean, 1 point is 1 point, but he's only played 11 minutes.
Right. Speaking, let's move on to the third line. Who do you got?
Me personally, I went with Lindblom, Patrick at center, and Farabee on the right.
Okay. I have Lindblom, Patrick, and Frost. Now, I have a question for you. We all know Nolan Patrick is currently dealing with an upper body injury. I don't know if he's going to be able to play this year. I mean, not this year, this preseason.
That would be a scary
Out
prospect.
for the year. And I think this is very troubling for him. And I like Patrick. I think it's too early to pass judgment on him as a bust. But not being able to play this preseason and Frost turning heads, that's not good.
Yeah, I mean, I was not a huge Patrick fan when he was drafted. I mean, it's cool to get, what was he, second pick?
Yeah,
it's cool to get the second pick, but when you look at the rest of his draft class, he's bottom of the barrel.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And he's injury prone.
Mm-hmm.
And we see that this year now.
It's not good. It's not a good look. I mean, going into this year, my keys for Nolan Patrick were to increase his point totals, work on his time on ice, and stay healthy. You know, he hasn't missed a game yet. We can't really say that, it's not going to work out, but it's not a good look.
So what would you do in this? Are you going to put Lawton in that spot, or
No.
do you think you want Frost there?
Here's my question. So, the title of center comes with a lot more defensive responsibilities, and I think that there's a decision to be made here. Do you keep Patrick at center because he's a natural center, and he's already played it for a couple years, and do you maybe try to have Frost switch to the wing because he's younger in his career, and it might be an easier transition? Or do you take Patrick out of center and give Frost the center and move him the wing, so some of that defensive responsibility is off of him, and maybe he'll have an opportunity to go out and just play his game?
Yeah, I mean, all right. So OHL guys, they develop a little slower, right? Mm-hmm. But it's been what, 3 years, 2 years?
I think this is his third.
I mean, Patrick should have picked it up by now. I don't expect him to be, hitting 70, 80 points. But he should at least be in the 50s, right? And I'm pretty sure he's in the 20s.
Well, do you want to hear an interesting stat?
I don't think I have an option.
You don't. I'm going to tell you regardless. So, Nolan Patrick is very comparable to one of your favorite players.
Who's that?
Coots.
Ah.
Both started when they were 19 years old. So, Coots' 2011-2012 season had 77 games played, 13 goals, 14 assists, 27 points, and was 47% on the faceoffs, averaging about 14 minutes on ice. Nolan Patrick played less games with 73, had the same goals, 13, more assists, 17, more points, 30, and a better faceoff percentage at 50% in year one. And Coots was also on that team when we got Yager and we just wrecked the league. Remember that?
Okay. Let me take your stats and throw them back at you for a second then.
Do it.
Nolan Patrick came into the league on second line.
Yeah.
Coots was fourth line with like 11 minutes a game.
Right.
Down to 9 sometimes.
We all know Hackstall's wonderful line shuffling methods. I mean, how I don't have the answer, but I don't know how long he was on that second line, and I don't know how frequently he was switched. We had line changes a lot the past 2 years. Line changes that didn't make sense, in my opinion. I mean, look at Sanheim. Look at Lindblom. Both those guys were getting bottom-of-the-barrel minutes because Hackstall did not view them as as a necessary piece of the team. He gets canned. Both those players' minutes immediately increase, and they make a bigger impact on the team.
I mean, we can hope that Patrick's ceiling is much higher than it appears to be. But from our position, it's really, how high is it?
It's true.
We have no way of knowing.
No way of knowing.
I mean, in comparison, other first-round picks in their second years, Sam Reinhart, 42 points. Jack Eichel, 57 points. Mm-hmm. Patrick Laine, 70 points.
Patrick Laine, I would say, is an exception.
He's much higher class than
Eichel, also a different level.
But this is first round, second pick.
It was also
other people in his draft class. Nico Hischier, 47. Elias Pettersson, 66.
Yep.
And how do you say his name? Heiskanen?
Heiskanen, that sounds right.
That's a defenseman with 33 points.
33 points. Yeah, there's no denying that he's been the worst one of that group. It was also
the worst one of the ones you expected to do well.
Right. There's I'm sure we could dive into that draft and find a couple more busts. But all I'm saying is it's taken Coots until 2 years ago to become offensively relevant on the first line. It could, 19 years old, we could be looking at a long development period for Nolan Patrick as well. I remember 4 years ago when everyone was like, trade Coots, he's never going to become that offensive guy. He's just defensive. He's not that good. You remember that?
I can see that, but Patrick's not forced into this position. He started second line and has moved down in the lines.
That's true.
He was given every opportunity from the beginning.
Right, but maybe he shouldn't have been. Maybe he's not ready to take that yet.
That's a good point. Maybe he just wasn't ready.
Yeah, and I think that a year of conditioning could have done him good, being that he missed his entire draft year off of injury, and we threw him right in at the NHL level. He probably could have used some conditioning, some time in the AHL. Regardless, do you move him to center? Do you keep him at center and put someone else in there? Or do you maybe move him to wing, take some of those responsibilities away, and ask somebody else to slot in there?
What would I do? I would definitely stick Patrick on the right side.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting. I would love to see a line with centered by Frost, Patrick, and Lindblom. I think that's a young, exciting line. I think
Yeah, so Lindblom did play really well last year with Patrick.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Big O, he has good chemistry with Patrick. He's great along the boards, which gives Patrick a better position to score. And then, obviously, you someone like Farabee coming in, or you have someone like Frost coming in. They're good playmakers. Farabee has a really strong shot. It's like a laser beam. I mean, Frost can take the puck from the defensive zone all the way 200 feet down to the other net and put the puck in.
Just hit him with
by
that
himself.
little stutter step. You see that last night? That little stutter?
Yeah.
Little whoop. Whoop. Now, here's an interesting thing. I know that we both like Rubstov, German Rubstov, but we don't have him in any of our lineups.
Yeah, so I had him as kind of a honorable mention next to Farabee. So, first off, it's Herman Rubstov.
Pee-wee?
I hope not.
Pee-wee Herman Rubstov.
I mean, you can't be Pee-wee when you're as tall as him.
I can call him what I want.
I suppose you can. Yeah, so he's actually, I believe he's on one of the websites, lineups, where, you know how they have game lineups on the internet. They have him as centering the third line.
I like that. I think that it's a safer option than bringing up Farabee and Frost, because Rubstov's been in the system a lot longer. He's a little more familiar. But this is a guy who's also injury prone. He's coming off of a major injury that pretty much robbed him of his entire year last year.
Yeah, unfortunately, he may have already been a Flyers player this year, if not for that shoulder injury last year. Now, granted, we had to get rid of Wayne Simmons before that happened, but he may have made his way in, squeaking by at the end.
Yeah, I could have totally seen him being a late addition last year, especially with the coaching change.
Yeah.
So I'm rooting for him. I would totally love to see what he has to do, because last year, before he got hurt, he looked ready. He looked like he was on another level on that Phantoms team. He was ready to take that step.
Definitely, I agree. And especially this third line being pretty much all rookies, and they're all offensively minded rookies. Not so much, I mean, the center's always going to be a little defensive, but still offensively minded rookies, and that's something AV's been known for. He likes to have an offensively driven team. And I think that's probably why he even put Hayes at 2C, even though you could probably put Hayes at 3C.
I'm so excited that we have an offensive minded coach right now.
Yeah, instead of a play veterans first coach.
Yeah, you mean just suck Andrew McDonald's dick, coach?
Your words, not mine. All right. So we have Raffle, Lawton, and probably end up being Pitlick, but I like Torrinsky for this spot.
Yeah.
Torrinsky.
Going in, when we wrote our lineups down, I also have the same line, but
this was before Pitlick was injured.
This was before Pitlick was injured, and this is before Torrinsky really showed some stuff. I mean, it's exciting.
Yeah, he looks really good, specifically Torrinsky, and he can easily play that right wing, and I think that's why he's there. They needed someone there. He's played in 3 games now, so
they like what they see. What's his ice time actually?
Torrinsky, I think he's only like 11 minutes, I believe. Yeah, so almost exactly 11:01.
Yeah.
So you have Torrinsky. He seems to be good at driving the puck to the net.
10 shots on goal.
10 shots already, yes. Mm-hmm.
With 11 minutes of ice time. That's nice.
Yeah, so you have Torrinsky with 10 shots on goal. The next highest is JVR with 8.
Which you would expect. You would expect him to be up there.
Yeah, I mean, just showed up and starts throwing pucks at net.
Balling out. And I think his only...
I feel like I like him better than Pitlick.
Well, we don't know. We just don't know Pitlick. It's hard to really say what we have in him.
Yeah, maybe I'm just a little enamored of him.
I just don't want Chris Stewart. No offense, Chris Stewart. It's just I would rather That's it on that.
Well, he's 31,
I just want the younger...
14 penalty minutes. Though.
14, yeah, he's 14. Had a couple fights.
Yeah. Who fights in the preseason? The Flyers do?
Well, I mean, anyone who wants to make the team wants to make an impact.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what blows my mind about these preseason minutes, though? So we have this little graphic up, and we're just kind of staring at it. And I guess a little bit surprised, Voracek is leading the way in points.
Last year wasn't too hot, but it wasn't too hot for anyone.
No.
So I didn't expect Voracek to be popping off already. But he seems to really be like in that Hayes JVR line.
How come Vorobiev has so many minutes?
Well, I mean, it's the preseason. You got to give him time to try.
I'm surprised that Vorobiev is logging more minutes than Rubtsov, and I don't think that Vorobiev is a shoo-in for a roster spot.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, again, it's the preseason. Maybe they've seen enough of Rubtsov
to just make a decision.
Yeah, that they want to see a little bit of Vorobiev.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So yeah, our fourth line right now, we're gonna stick with Raffl, Lawton, and Pitlick, or do you want to put Turinsky in there?
I mean, I'll stick Turinsky in there for now. I mean, Pitlick's obviously not going to play for the first couple games, so someone's going to have to play that spot, and Turinsky would be an easy fill for that spot. In my opinion.
I think so. I mean, you're looking at this line. Lawton, I think it's a sin that Lawton's stuck on our fourth line. I think that he's better than that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. He definitely deserves to be a 3C.
Yeah, it would be nice to see what he has with some better people. Nothing against Raffl and Pitlick or Turinsky, but I think that Lawton totally deserves to be a 3C on a team. But that's just not going to happen on the Flyers.
Probably not anytime soon. I mean, he can hit, he can block. He's a great bottom six player.
I mean, with Patrick and Hayes down the pipeline, yeah, he's not moving up.
Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, maybe one day he'll request a trade. I'd like to keep him around.
Yeah, I mean, he's great. He's got a motor, man. He hustles. He does the work. So let's talk a little bit of defense. So defense was absolutely one of the main reasons that we missed the playoffs.
And it looks better this year.
It looks better.
Already it looks better.
Just the scheme, the system.
Mm-hmm.
Ghost and Provy both look solid, I'd say.
Ghost has taken shots. He hasn't landed any yet, but he's taking them.
That's all I want. I want him to have that look. I want him to feel it.
All I want is for him to score. But
yeah. Well, he's not on your fantasy team. He's on mine.
That's true.
So.
He was on my fantasy team last year. I traded him for Elias Lindholm. Someone told me in my group chat I got raped in that trade. That was the word they used.
Because you traded Ghost for Lindholm?
Mm-hmm.
Did you reply to them?
I was past that person by about 7 places by the end of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, it's because they're dumb. You hear me, person? You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Poor choice of words also.
Yeah, come on now.
We'll just move on from there. So Ivan Provorov and Travis Sanheim are my line 1Ds.
They are also my line 1. I mean, why mess with a good thing? This is the duo that really broke out at the end of last year. We saw the emergence of Sanheim, and that definitely helped Provorov's stock a little bit last year. And I just want to see more. I want to see Provorov prove his doubters wrong. I think he's going to, and I want to see Sanheim really step in and fulfill his offensive-minded potential.
Yeah, I mean, just to play devil's advocate a little bit, I mean, Ivan Provorov had a down year last year. That was obvious. We all can tell that. But he has tons of upside, and he plays great with Sanheim. He can shoot. He's very good defensively, but his shot percentage dropped by half. It was 100 less attempts. And I know he's a D-man, but still, it's 100 less shot attempts.
That's not a good stat.
Also, he had really high giveaways.
Yeah, he was not the same, and could you even argue maybe that shoulder injury in the playoffs against the Caps? Do you think that?
I'm sure any injury is going to make it difficult for a player, but they're not going to say it unless they have to. They're not going to, especially when you're getting close to playoffs time, they're not going to mention injuries at all.
So
I can't blame them, but at the same time, if you're injured, I'm going to take that back. I would play injured whether or not.
Yeah, that's what you do. That's what hockey players do. Ghost was also injured last year. So going into the second line, who do you have?
I have Ghost and Braun.
Ghost and Braun. Okay. Why do you got Braun in there?
I think it would be good to have kind of that pylon next to a offensive defenseman, if you know what I mean. So Braun's very good defensively, but we have Ghost there also, who he's basically an offensive defenseman, right?
Yeah.
He quarterbacks, he takes shots, he moves the puck through the neutral zone on his own if he has to. And then you have Braun there, and he can make those blocks. He can make those stops. He makes diving saves. He made a save the other day for the goalie.
Yeah, that was a very nice play. I actually have Ghost with Niskanen.
Ghost with Niskanen, okay.
Yeah, I like Niskanen. I think being an offensive-minded team, that we should have offensive-minded defensive units. And I think rolling out number one with Provorov and Sanheim is big.
Mm-hmm.
Both those guys are going to be flying down the ice. Sanheim likes to step up into the play. Niskanen is a great passer. And
yeah, he has that tape-to-tape pass that they were bragging about.
So is Ghost. So I think having both those guys in there, both of them can play big minutes. I think that's just going to round it around nicely in a nice second line there.
Yeah, I can see that, but I think they want Niskanen to be on that third pairing, so that way he can play with a brand new rookie.
Yeah, I could see it either way. You could force him, you could move him up with Ghosts and have more pressure, but I could also see him popping back on that third D line with someone like Myers or Morin.
Yep. I mean, I think Haig is going to come back this year. I would rather see Myers or Morin.
Does he have to, though?
I mean, he doesn't have to, but that's not really up to us.
Here's the thing. Every year I hear just like, wow, Robert Haig is top in the league in hits. Did you know that? But every time I watch a game, I can't recall a single hit that he lays out. He's invisible.
Yeah.
So, like,
it's unfortunate, really.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to add to that. He is invisible. It's just unfortunate.
We see his ceiling. I mean, my bad. We don't see his ceiling. There's a floor, and there is no ceiling. So yeah, that's just what I think that we have with Hag is this, and that's fine.
The ceiling is the floor.
Yeah, the ceiling is the floor. They're the same. But we can do better. I mean, even Morin, we don't know what we have with Morin, but based off his draft pedigree and his physical stats, I would say that he's even more intriguing option to put in there instead of Hag, just because.
Well, so based off of our off-season moves, do you think Morin's going to come up? I mean, we have Niskanen coming in, we have Braun came in. We have Haig in that spot.
Right. I don't know.
So, are they going to run 7D? Or probably not.
Probably not. I don't know. It's a shame.
Someone's going to be fighting for that position, because Sanheim's not going anywhere, right?
No, absolutely not. So, Sanheim's locked in.
Yeah.
I would say probably not. I think that Morin is the odd man out yet again. That makes me sad. Really rooting for him, but due to the injuries, we signed him on a super cheap deal, so he's pretty much just on an extended rookie contract. It costs nothing to keep him around. I think that the coaching staff is really high on Myers. We've seen a lot from him. Personally, I've seen some things that concern me about Myers coming in.
Yeah, he was kind of cocky.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. I think that was the way you put it when I talked to you about it.
Yeah, he
I agree with the way you put it. He was cocky.
Yeah, I mean, I saw on the power play him make two horrible mistakes back to back. It's just puck got tipped, careless again, puck got tipped again. You can't be making those mistakes. He I think there was a goal that was his fault because of his defensive pairing, and he's even was penalized a couple times.
Yeah, the penalties definitely, they were worrisome to me because they were dumb penalties, just like slashes and hooks.
But on the flip side of that, for every bad play that he's made, I've seen some little play. I've seen some great stutter step, his ability to move through the neutral zone. It's all there. It's all good. He's very clearly, I would say, above an AHL level. It's just some of these things concern me. I don't know if he's trying to force some stuff to stand out in the preseason or if this is more close to what he's going to be.
I mean, he's young. He could just be having fun.
That's true. He's a cocky little punk.
He could just be enjoying himself. I mean, he's making hundreds of thousands of dollars playing hockey.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
That is super awesome, but maybe try to be better. I don't know.
maybe better. Maybe don't be bad.
So, what about this third D line? Who do you have officially?
Officially, I have Hagen Niskanen because that's just what I think is going to happen.
I have Myers and Braun.
Okay, yeah. So is your second line was Ghost and Niskanen.
So I have Myers and Braun. I
yeah.
think that even with the cockiness, the mistakes, Myers is just, we clearly know is better than Hag. I think that at this point it's just time to move on from Hag. He's a very solid defenseman, and should there be injury, I feel comfortable with him coming in and filling in. But I think that Myers will offer more chances to move the puck, more creativity.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they put Hag on waivers, though, he'd get picked up by someone.
I'm okay with that, because again, you put Hag on waivers, I'm totally cool with bringing Morin up, because I still think both those guys are better.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, we talked about all these changes, we've set our lines. So who is your breakout player this year? Who most benefited from these changes? Talk to me.
Who most benefited? I'd definitely say Travis Konechny.
You think Konechny? Why Konechny?
Because again, harking back to my spiel about how he needed more minutes. He's definitely going to get more minutes if he gets put on that first line. That's going to give him tons of time. His power play goals plateaued from last year, which means giving him more time this year is only going to make that go up. I mean, if he plateaus from here, that's a bad sign.
Agreed.
So playing with G and Coots, that can't hurt. That can't hurt anyone.
No, and I'd like to see him get a little bit more ice time with them.
Yeah, I mean, if he can keep up and he doesn't get gassed, he's been being groomed for this position. I can see him at least 50, 55 points.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely in the realm of possibility. I mean, so he's had 2 straight 24-goal campaigns. And he was so snake-bitten last year. All I remember is Travis Konechny hit the post. That was the entire the first 20 games.
Yeah,
so
the post was like his new girlfriend.
It was, yeah.
Is he married yet?
I don't know, but he was hitting that post hard.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was. So I can totally see him having closer to Travis Konechny could be a 30-goal scorer and maybe above given the right circumstances, especially if this team gets rolling like I think they could. He could be in for a huge boost this year. I have Nolan Patrick as one of my players most benefited this year, and I know that he's hurt now, which sucks. But last year he was up and down the lineup. I think he was hurt again, and also it was a bad team. We were a bad team last year.
Yeah, he's been having injury issues. He had them his first season. He had them at the start of the first season, but from what I understand, that was just like a skin infection or something like that. Which, that's not really something to be too worried about.
Look at this right here. The one thing that I wrote down. Important to have a healthy year. Come on, Patrick!
Yes. Well, you could say that about any player, but for him specifically, it's very important. This is
super important.
He's like the Brian Elliott of forwards now.
Oh, man. Poor Elliott.
Or the Neuwirth. Oh, Neuwirth had a 909 save percentage last night.
Who's he playing with now?
He's with Toronto.
Toronto?
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I love Neuwirth. I think that he has all the talent is there for him. I was excited when we got him. I mean, he's been our better goaltender in the playoffs when we have played.
Yeah.
So
it's just that in the injuries, man.
Yeah.
He can't stay healthy.
And it's a shame.
He was injured training camp for Toronto.
He was injured again?
Yeah. He's all right now. I guess he's already played.
It's crazy that he just injured again.
That poor guy.
So going into this year, Nolan Patrick having a defined role on the third line for the first time in his career, I think it's going to do a lot for him. Instead of looking at that and being demoted to the third and then feeling bad about it, I think he's going to have steady line mates now. I think he could have new line mates, as we talked about earlier, Rubstov, Farabee, or Frost. I think that's going to be a huge boon for him. I think he's going to be able to have time to meld with people, work on his game, and not have to worry about any of that outside stuff.
So you're saying he should be better because he should feel comfortable in his position?
He should. He should feel comfortable where he's at. He should feel comfortable with the people around him, and he'll have time to work on it and work on his game and move up, hopefully.
I can hope so. I really can hope so. I mean, I already blew my load pretty much for talking about Nolan Patrick earlier. But again, he out of his draft class, he's pretty low. I mean, he's forgotten to other teams.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely think that Nolan Patrick is not... I don't even know how much trade value he would garner at the moment.
It's tough to say, because if you go to another city and you hear Nico Hischier, or you hear Jack Eichel or Patrick Laine, Andrei Svechnikov, all these names, you know where they're at and how they're doing. Someone mentions Nolan Patrick, they go, I don't know.
But I would argue that everybody on that list, except Nico Hischier, was a higher rated prospect. We have to remember that.
Then why did we take him?
Because it was a shallow draft.
Shallow draft.
I think that there just wasn't that many options, and I think that the consensus was Patrick and Hischier were the best players.
Elias Pettersson.
Well, yeah,
of course, none of us really saw that coming.
I don't think any.
Except
I don't
for
even think
the more stat-driven prospect following guys, but
yeah, I don't even think Vancouver saw that coming. I also have Ivan Provorov as one of my players most benefited from the changes this year.
He has to benefit. If he doesn't benefit, that's a really bad sign for this team.
Yeah. I think that first of all, Provorov's crazy. He does this absolutely insane workout routine in the off season. He's just drinking vodka and pumping iron the entire time.
Fueled by vodka.
But I think that he's also
Provorov love vodka.
I think he's also
my bad Russian accent.
Yeah, bad. It was real bad. You need to drink more vodka before we do
more
this.
Vodka.
But he will. I think he's the kind of guy who puts the blame on himself too. So when things aren't going well for himself or the team, I think he feels responsible. I think he would make a great captain. I think he has that potential. But correct me if I'm wrong, but he's only 23.
As far as I'm aware, yeah.
Yeah, he's super young.
Yeah, 23. I mean, maybe he just had his sophomore slump 1 year late.
Yeah.
It could just be that simple.
I think that with Niskanen coming in, Niskanen's going to suck up some minutes. Braun's probably going to suck up some minutes. I think the pressure should be off of him. And if Ghost starts producing again, it's going to be better. It was the perfect storm last year. Provorov hit a slump. The team hit a slump. Ghost hit a slump.
The whole team was a slump.
Right. And then there was no end in sight to that. There was no game plan. There was no method to getting out of that.
I can agree. Yeah. So I mean, with how high his ceiling is and how highly talented he is, he has nowhere to go but up after that.
Yeah, and
so I mean, if we're not a playoff team this year, if we're not looking good coming the first 3 months, I could see some big moves happening before Christmas.
If we don't make the playoffs this year, I predict fire sale. I think that G is gone. I would say.
Oof. I don't know if I'd go that far. I'd say at least Ghost is gone.
Ghost, maybe even Voracek.
Yeah, I could hear the people in the back, cheering, get rid of Voracek, but he's one of my favorite players on this team, and he's another one that is he's what a Flyer looks like.
Agreed.
And I think a lot of Flyer fans are at that point now where we've put up with the get to the first round, don't hit the playoffs. Get to the first round, don't hit the playoffs. We've been doing that since 1994.
Yeah.
Right? It's not really... We're not showing any improvement. It's just this constant hill, valley, hill, valley, hill, valley until forever? When does this move up? When do we get better? We've had the same stars for at least the past 7 years, right? So... Well, who should we watch this year then? So... there's definitely specific players that we want to keep an eye on, especially after these changes. And me personally, I say Kevin Hayes. I'm pretty sure you said Sean Couturier.
Yeah, I think that. Why don't you start us off with Hayes?
Hey, again, as we mentioned in the beginning, Hayes has to prove himself.
Yeah.
So we got to be watching him. You know, he's the new blood, and especially with a contract that heavy, with term that long, we have to watch him because this is basically a future player, right?
He's gonna have to be
the future of our team.
And just like the team, I think he's at a crossroad in his career. This is the year that he can prove if he's a second-line center or a third-line center. He's been averaging between both, hovering between both those positions, but he can finally put his foot down. He can define who he is as a player coming into this year.
Yeah, and I desperately want him to be the additional scoring we need. I mean, he's quoted as saying he's a 200-foot player, right? So if he can go from the defensive zone, be defensive, move through the neutral zone, him, Voracek, and JVR make it through, play their tic-tac-toe game and score like they've been doing this whole preseason. It's been 3 games, 4 games, right? Four preseason games?
Yeah.
They've done it in every game, right?
Every game they've played.
Yeah, every game they've been in. And AV knows Hayes. He knows what kind of player he is. Hayes knows AV as a coach. So, and they're both offensive-minded. What
gives me hope is the fact that the Flyers were very purposeful in going after Hayes. They wanted him. That was their guy. There was no hesitation. They traded for him before free agency starts. So AV has trust in him, and at this point, the only thing we can do is trust that instinct.
Yeah. I mean, he had 13 points in 20 games with Laine. So, I mean, next to Voracek and JVR, he should do better than that.
Yeah, absolutely. So my player to watch this year, I think it's going to be Coots. I think he's going to have a huge year. So the past 2 years, he has had the same exact point totals, and I would argue that that's not going to be the trend. I don't think that this is where he levels out. I think the sky is the limit for Coots. He has this shot. I'm sure you've seen this shot where he gets real up close and just shoots it, and I don't even see it
this
leave.
Weird flick.
Yeah, I don't see it leave his stick. It hits the crossbar and it goes in. Mm-hmm. He's got a nasty shot.
Sneaky.
He's sneaky. I want to see him use it more.
I like seeing how he drives the net now too.
Oh, absolutely.
Like last season, I had him on my fantasy team, and I was watching, and he drove the net, and he got tripped up by a defenseman, fell down, and went ribcage first into the crossbars. Took the net out and everything. And I was terrified because, we take this defensive guy and we're like, come on, you gotta be offensive.
Do it.
Do it, drive the net. And then he's gonna get injured. And he's like our star player now. And he was fine, so it all worked out.
No big deal.
But,
no, I expect him to. I think he's going to have career highs. I think he's going to have a career high in goals and points this year. And I think a large part of that is actually going to be because of Kevin Hayes in that second line. I think that second line rocking in all cylinders is going to make our top line look like a top line again.
Well, yeah, and you got to, like you said, his points were the same, or relatively the same.
Exactly the same.
Yeah,
he had the same
exactly
point
the same
total.
for those 2 seasons. Last season, we were terrible.
We were horrible.
Right? And so his points were still even.
Yeah.
That's improvement.
Yeah, and it should be noted, the year, 2 years ago is a year that G breaks 100 points, and he's with G that entire run.
Yeah.
We're horrible that next year, and he keeps his point totals the same. That's telling you something.
Yeah, he's got that offensive pressure we needed. And he still has that defensive mind if he needs to go back and use it. So he's kind of a feel-good story for the Flyers, right?
Absolutely. I think that right now, I think we are paying him less than we're paying Konechny right now.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, I mean, contracts are difficult because you got to look at when they were signed and what the cap hit was when they were signed.
I'm just saying he's a bargain right now.
He is a bargain. I mean, you could really view Konechny as a bargain depending on how he does this year, but we'll see.
I think that Konechny deal is a smart deal.
It's not bad. So this season, what are you expecting specifically from this team? Just playoffs, nothing less?
No, I want a round one win. I think that's necessary. I don't want to just make the playoffs and then bow out. Anything can happen in the playoffs, and I think that rule only applies once you make it to the second round. I think if you can get deep into the playoffs, who knows what injuries, matchups, just momentum. There's so many factors. If this team can't make it to the playoffs and win a series, then things need to change, And I also do not want slumps. I swear, if we have another 10-game stretch where we don't win for the third or fourth year in a row, I'm going to lose my biscuits, John. But one thing that we should note, that our division bulked up. I would say that we are arguably the second or third least improved team in terms of just off-season moves.
Well, yeah, when you look at New Jersey and you look at the New York Rangers, they both definitely made very strong improvements, especially Jack Hughes going to New Jersey, PK Subban.
Gustav, I think his name is.
Gusev?
Gusev, yeah.
Gusev. Yeah, going to New Jersey. Then you have who? Panarin and Kakko in New York Rangers. So
this team should be better than last year, and I think that the reason we didn't see all the major changes is because our core is there. They believe in that core. They believe in that team. So they thought they just needed a new mindset and some fresh players to get the job done.
Pacioretty's looking good this.
I hope so. I really like Patches. I'm a big fan. No one's, at least as of last year, I haven't looked at an updated version of this stat, but no one's scored more goals. The only person who scored more goals than him is Ovechkin since he entered the league.
Yeah, well, since we're talking about other teams, this pretty much we're reaching the end of the podcast anyway. Other teams, what do you think about this PK Subban on New Jersey thing? Do you think he was worth the money? That his time is up after leaving Nashville?
That's a really tough one. I can understand why any team would want someone like PK Subban, and even more than just their play. I mean, he's a personality. He's a popular player. He's going to bring in the sales. He's a
bit of a philanthropist, from what I hear.
Yeah, he's going to make people buy tickets. Yeah,
that's true.
So it's a smart move to get people watching hockey again in Jersey, but
yeah, well, tickets in Newark, they're only like $20, right? You get stabbed on your way there, though.
It's pretty great. It's my favorite part. I'd say yeah. I think that he's got more left in the tank. I think that Nashville team was weird. I think we all expected them to be way better than what they were, and they made
our power play look good.
Yeah.
They had no power play at all.
They were just okay last year.
Yeah. Especially coming 3 seasons ago, they were championship finals.
I know. Like I said, I thought that they would be set for a while, but I also thought the Winnipeg Jets would be set for a while.
Yeah,
and I don't even think they're going to make the playoffs this year.
The Jets are a completely different story. Yeah, I think Jets and Columbus, that was their chance, and they both missed it.
Well,
especially Columbus.
God bless. I mean, an F for respect. I'm so sorry, Columbus.
Oh, man. Was it Duchesne and Panarin out?
Duchesne, Panarin, Bobrovsky.
Yeah, Bobrovsky.
Star.
Yeah, Bobrovsky went to Florida, correct? Florida Panthers.
That's going to be good. I like the Panthers. Rooting for them. So which team do you think concerns you the most?
Out of all of the NHL?
Yeah.
Like for the Flyers to deal with?
For the Flyers to deal with.
For the Flyers to deal with, I want to say, despite all of the changes that have been made in New Jersey, I still want to say Boston is one of our biggest enemies.
Yeah, I think Boston is...
They arguably have the best top line in hockey right now. If you're not counting, you could argue that with maybe Avalanche's top line. McKinnon and Landeskog.
I go Avalanche, but
they haven't signed Rantanen yet.
Which doesn't make sense to me.
I understand, he kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's tough, especially...
He's kind of like a Coots story for Avalanche.
Yeah, but you have to be wary of those guys who perform big on contract years. Because it's a contract year. It's what they do. It doesn't necessarily reflect the player that they are.
Well, I guarantee if they don't want him, we should take him.
Yeah, just for shits and giggles, right?
Give him Hayes.
After all the talk?
After all of this talk about how much we like Hayes now.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So, I would say Carolina. I think that they made a lot of really positive changes. I think that they're going to surprise a lot of people this year. I think it may be under the radar one, but I think they're going to be a good team.
I can see that. I can definitely see Carolina coming back and being at least a second round exit. But yeah. I don't think they're a championship team.
I guess we'll have to see how their young guys develop. We'll see how that goes.
Let's make a bold prediction.
Okay.
Who do you think the championship teams will be this year? That's a tough one. I know. Let me start off. I'll start off then.
Yeah, you start off.
I think that it will be Boston. I'm going to go with Avalanche. I think they will be the final two teams.
Boston and the Avalanche.
Because we know that Toronto's going to get their asses kicked by Boston. Happens every year.
It does. Oh God, poor Toronto. Even when they're good, they still suck.
Because I don't think the Blues are going to repeat. I don't think they're going to.
No, I don't know, because like last year I thought they were going to be great. They weren't, but they rounded it around. They had their own cool story coming out of It's because of that dog.
It's because of the dog.
It's because of the they had that fight. They brought in the therapy dog. Yeah. Basically, you want to win a cup, bring puppers.
Yeah. Well,
I can see Boston. I can see Avalanche. I've just been thinking. I want to say Vegas, but I don't think that they're going to be as good this year. I think they've.
Well, actually, you might be right. Maybe I should change my Avalanche to Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I could say Boston and Vegas. I think because I'm pretty sure they're changing their second line to their first line. The first line's going to be Pacioretty.
I think they should.
And they're moving. They're going to move William Karlsson
and
to second line.
Yeah, he just he had that 1 year, and he's still a fantastic player. But I don't think I think second line is definitely where he should be. I like Avalanche a lot. I'm gonna stick with Avalanche, and I'm gonna say I'll go Carolina. I'll go Carolina actually.
All right, so at the end of the season, we're gonna find out: is it Boston Vegas or is it Carolina Vegas?
I don't know. We'll see.
Or are we completely wrong?
Let's take
probably completely wrong.
Most likely completely wrong.
Yeah.
But if not, in your face, listeners. Let's take a moment to talk about what we have planned for this podcast, and let's just let people know how we plan on doing this.
All right. Well, I think first and foremost, we're going to try to do it weekly.
Yeah, I think weekly is what we want to do, and pretty much we're going to watch the games. We're going to come in here on Saturday or Sunday and just talk about what we saw, break down the games, look at the games in the future, cover some news, some rumors. We're not going to throw every rumor out there, though, because that gets old.
But it's also important to note, we're not professional analysts.
No.
We're just two fans. It's good. We're going to go for the one time a week, mostly focusing on games, but towards the end of the podcast, we want to talk about the rest of the division.
We want to keep you guys informed on just news that affects the Flyers. Also, just some cool things that happen around the league. Should it be necessary?
Yep. So, if you're interested, we'll be back next week with another episode. Until then, this has been Flying P. We're out. Thanks for joining us on our first episode of the Flying P podcast. If you like what you heard, please tune in next week when we talk about the tail end of the preseason and touch on our feelings about Carter Hart.